The views expressed in the following program do not necessarily represent those of the staff, management, or owners of WGBB.
We don't live in America. America lives in us. All gave some gave all. One by one, they answered the call. 15 years on, as the brutal attacks of 9/11 slowly transition from memory to history, I still believe we don't live in America. America lives in us. This is Ted Hicks, Late Night Parents, coming to you live once again Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Happy to be here. Ways to contact the show, facebook.com/Late Night Parents. You can find me on Twitter, The Real Ted Hicks, or Late Night Parent. And you can also find us on lnp.tv or latenightparents.com. Want to thank our partners that play the shows. I talk about you guys each and every week. UNR01, Life Improvement Radio, XRP Radio, Arena Sports Network, I-95 Sports Network, Mile High Radio, the Underground, our friends at iHeartRadio, and that's where we're going to leave it. But we want to thank, special thanks to our friends at the Happy Hour Network, blogtalkradio.com/Happy Hour Network. But most importantly, we want to thank our friends at 1240 AM WGBB. That allows us to air our show weekly and live to our friends in Long Island. Yeah, it's one of those days. It's kind of somber. It's a lot going on. You know, a lot of people are trying to block that out with football and everything else, but we know the true meaning of 9/11. We're going to talk about that in segment 3. Tonight, segment 1, 5 minutes past the hour, we're going to have Dr. Michelle's going to join in and give us a call, talk about her latest and greatest of what's happening in her world. 20 minutes past in segment 2, we're going to talk with good friend Adam Cohen is going to join us. Adam Cohen to you, Dada Rocks to us, superstar on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all the above. But most importantly, he's a dad. And segment 3, my good friend for many years, Rich Valdez, who is actually in the studio. Richie V is here.
Teddy Ted, what's going on? How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm very well enjoying this beautiful day. Even though, as you mentioned, it is a somber day in its own way because of 9/11. But we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, we will. We will definitely discuss that. So you've done... Like I said, we go back. We go way back. Working history, personal history, professional history. You've done a few of the podcasts where you jumped in and provided your expertise in the many different areas where you can provide your expertise, Rich. Also, it's good to be on the air with you live. And, of course, we didn't promote the show at all.
Not at all, but that's okay. The next time we can. That's all right.
You got it. So we usually do it in podcast format where you can grab it and manipulate it and replay it over and over and over. So this is where we are. It's Sunday. It's, like I said, the people are so caught up in football, not just because of today, but, you know, football runs the world, or it seems. Along with that, with football, you know, I will tell you this much, Rich, I didn't watch a single down of preseason football.
I find that hard to believe.
Not at all.
Nothing? Not even to scout out your players for your fantasy league?
Not at all. Nothing. Nothing at all. But, Rich, I want to let you know we have a special guest. I got to stop saying a special guest because Dr. Michelle is at home here on Late Night Parents, and Dr. Michele, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you both doing?
Pretty good.
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So, Dr. Michele, it's a very, very, very small world, but the person who is sitting in the studio with me happens to be the husband.
I know, I heard.
Aha!
That is awesome.
It's a small world. What is it, 6 degrees, 7 degrees of separation?
Yes.
That's right.
So we're 1 degree apart.
That's
Definitely,
right.
definitely.
Very, very true.
Dr. Michele, it's always good to have you on each and every week. Your segments, I tell you, in the download section, your segments pull so much traffic and generate so much traffic, and you're a superstar.
I think we are all superstars, not just me. We're all superstars.
So, Dr. Michele, what's going on in your world? How can you help us this week? Because, with today being 9/11, a lot of people there's a high level of stress. It's somber. It's a sorrow. People are really feeling sorry for one another. The country as a whole is coming together. What are your thoughts? How can you help us this week?
Well, one of the things that a lot of people don't necessarily want to discuss is that when there is something going on that's bothering you mentally, it's very important that you take the time to seek out a professional who can help you. And that professional can be either a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a social worker, your minister, but it's someone who's trained in the field of counseling to get you through these times. Because a lot of times if you are down and feeling depressed or feeling anxious, that's going to affect your overall health, from your relationship with your family, how you do with your job, your eating habits, your sleeping habits. So I would want people, even though it's something that we discuss once a year, it's something as far as our mental health that we need to have at the forefront every day, not just 9/11 when it comes around, because a lot of times when we have celebrations or when we talk about different things that have happened in society, especially 9/11, it's something that you talk about on today, but tomorrow the people are still grieving.
It's true.
And yes, it's good you see everything on TV and everyone's patriotic for the moment, but there's life when the cameras roll down and turn off their lights that we have to really be serious about discussing.
That is so true. I kind of, just your comments based right there, I kind of think of when you lose a loved one, and everyone is there that week leading up till the funeral services. Mm-hmm. But a week after, 2 weeks after, that's when I would like to say we should be checking in on the person, mm-hmm. stopping by, being in touch, being that specific ear, yes. or that sounding board.
Yes.
And it just seems like over and over, it just doesn't happen.
Yes, and one of the things that we usually say not to say to someone who's experienced some type of loss is say, like, what can I do for you? Let me know what I can do for you.
Right.
And more times than not, if it's a situation that we've never been through before, we don't know what to tell people that we need help with. And it's important, yes, that we're there for the day, but like you just said, that we're there after.
You're right. It's not like, I just experienced it. One of my friends, he lost his mom. And I stopped over to his house. My wife and I, we stopped over there just to see him and check in with him. And not that we're grief counselors, but we just wanted to let him and his family know we're there. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to, of course, you didn't want to say, well, if you need anything, mm-hmm. it just sounds so cliche and mm-hmm. stale,
yes,
to say the least.
Yes. So, even if you continue to stop by the house or even just pick up the phone, I'm just checking to see how you're doing. And simple things that we take for granted that people do every day is, especially when you're grieving, you don't eat the way you're supposed to. You don't
right.
sleep the way you're supposed to. and you're distracted because you're not exactly your usual self because you're experiencing a loss. So it's key that we say, okay, did you eat today? Maybe I can bring you something over to eat, or I'll just show up, and even if they decide they don't want it, they can always freeze it and eat it later.
It's true. It's true. And I guess the one important thing that you would usually say, because when you put on your doctor hat, that you always have it, you always have it on, along with your mom hat and your wife hat and everything else is.
Why do I have to put on a hat?
But when you are stopping by and you're bringing your friend or the person who's grieving some something to eat or whatever, try to make it healthy. Stay away from this fried stuff. I'm sorry.
No, that's true. That's true. But I mean, it's so easy just to get some fried chicken.
I know. It really is. It really is. But it's just, in the long run, you're like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So along with that, what's happening in your world? Because I think there's some type of event. I'm not sure of the name that's coming up.
We are going to have on Saturday, September 24th at 8:30 a.m. by Eisenhower Park on Long Island, a walk to health. And it's going to be during the month of September because September is Child Obesity Month. And we are trying to come together as a community to help to show that the statistics don't have to stay how they are, and we can help to move the needle and decrease the statistics by families coming together and starting a healthy exercise program and also instilling healthier eating habits. So we're going to do that together from 9 to 12 at Eisenhower Park on Saturday, September 24th at 8:30 a.m. It's a free walk, and we're going to have some special guests that are going to also be participating. And it's very family-friendly. It's not just us walking. We're going to be doing several different activities that are going to be something that you can incorporate into your daily lives every day, every single day as an adult and as a child, because really taking care of your health starts when you're a child, not all of a sudden when you get to be 40 or 50 and you realize, like, oh, my gosh, I have high blood pressure and diabetes. Let me make a change.
Right.
It's something that you have to grow up changing.
That is so true. That is so true. Dr. Michele, I got to tell you, I've have so many friends, and some of them are older, and I've seen the after effects of them not living a healthy or good life, and then when they hit that point, oh, I'm on dialysis, oh, I'm on this, oh, I've got to check my blood sugar, and it's really, really sad. I got to tell you.
No, I mean it definitely is, and even today, I was basically out all day. I did, because I'm training for the Chicago Marathon October 9th. And today I did a 7-mile run and then came home, quickly showered. And I went to, my first boot camp.
Okay.
And I liked it because my friend was celebrating her birthday, and she decided to have a birthday fitness weekend.
Nice.
And what better way is Saturday she had cycling class for those who can make cycling, and then today we did the boot camp, and we followed it up by brunch. So at brunch, we didn't feel guilty because we really worked up a good sweat. But, I mean, it's important, like I said, that you instill those habits as a child, but even as an adult, you can have fun celebrating your birthday. You don't always have to go out and have dinner. You can do healthier activities with your friends. And I really admired my friend Tanja for having a birthday fitness weekend.
Wow.
She set the standard for me.
She did. She did. So your next birthday, you can't turn around and have, reserve this nice restaurant. You got to do, you got to up her.
Oh, goodness.
One notch or two.
Already I'm getting tagged on Facebook because apparently on TV they were talking about a marathon in France where every mile marker they have a glass of wine, and they have seafood. And so my friends are like, we're definitely going to go and do this with you.
Wow. Okay.
So whatever it takes, as long as my people are out there moving and getting some exercise, I'll go for it.
That's cool. That is really, really cool.
But I'm looking forward to seeing the Hicks family, the Valdez family on Saturday, September 24th at 8:30 to register for free. And we can start the walk at 9 o'clock.
As a representative for the Valdez family, I can say we will be there. But I do have to ask you not to mention this Paris marathon to my wife, because she has always wanted to get to Paris.
It's too late.
Thank you, Dr. Michele.
It's too late. Once it's on the internet, it's too late.
Let me turn off my network connection now, then.
Oh my goodness! Hey, Dr. Michele, before we move to the next segment, wanted to know what are the best ways to get in contact with you?
Well, the best ways to reach me at the office is 516-794-2200 extension 8. That's 516-794-2200 extension 8. And on the web, I am at www.askdrmichele with 1L.com, and that's www.askdrmichele.com.
Hey, Dr. Michele, one last thing. Tomorrow morning, God willing, tomorrow morning when I go to Facebook for my weekly Facebook check-in, I'm really terrible with Facebook. Will I or will I not have my Monday motivation? Putting you on the spot. But
Oh, goodness. I guess I will work on my Monday motivation.
You got
after I get my Sunday night sleep, because I did a 2-a-day workout, so I said I am drained.
You got it. Dr. Michele, as always, thank you for taking the time out for joining us. And I think you might be in the studio next week.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, I will definitely be there with you.
All right. Dr. Michele, thanks again.
All right, and have a great show.
Thank you.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that was our friend, Dr. Michele Reed, for her weekly Ask Dr. Michele segment. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll hopefully be back with my good friend, Adam Cohen.
Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook of your choice and a free 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/late-night-parents and choose from over 180,000 audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/late-night-parents. That's audibletrial.com/late-night-parents and get started today. Why Audible? Audible content includes more than 180,000 audio programs from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. That's audibletrials.com/late-night-parents.
Are you looking for some sick sports apparel? DHTK designed some of the newest and coolest brands such as Represent, Game Over, and Don't Hate the King. DHTK's vision is to integrate culture, fashion, and attitude that best represents the players and caters to us, the fans. Click on DHTK.com and subscribe to their mailing list for an automatic 10% off your order. If you are a basketball fan, follow DHTK on social media. Visit DHTK.com for more details. DHTK.com. You don't have to be a king to dress like one.
If you like your radio a bit on the fantastic side, try listening to the Happy Hour Network on Blog Talk Radio. The Happy Hour Network features live shows such as Late Night Parents with Ted Hicks, Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue with Todd Vandenberg, and Lee Vowell, The Seahawks Show with Kevin Daggett, and NBA Full Court Press with Danny Thompson. You can also catch podcasts like The Fwat Show, The Earnestly Speaking Podcast, Cinema Savants, and The Tennis Scene, found at blogtalkradio.com/Happy Hour Network. The Happy Hour Network, radio worth listening to. I am loving my Verizon FiOS. In fact, I recently joked that if we move, we have to find a place with FiOS coverage. To my surprise, our family actually agreed. Not only is FiOS the fastest internet service, it also has never been down, with the exception of when Storm Sandy hit us. And indeed, only FiOS gives you the same speed uploading, for your files, photos, etc., as it does downloading, as in HD movies. Cable cannot offer you this, only FiOS. So go ahead, make a very smart choice with Verizon FiOS.
And we're back. This is Ted Hicks, as Late Night Parents. In studio is none other than Rich Valdez. And on the phone is none other than Adam Cohen. Adam, how you doing?
Good evening. I'm good. Thank you for having me, Ted.
I know.
How you doing, Rich?
Good, Adam. How are you?
What is new in the world of Dada Rocks? I mean, you could have your own 30-minute show.
Yeah, right. I could do that for a while. What's new? Well, right now we're talking about the back-to-school season with Verizon Fios in the upcoming Twitter party this week on Thursday night. So that's going to be new and exciting. We're going to have some great prizes at that Twitter party.
I heard you are kind of taking the lead on this next Twitter party. What's up with that?
I'm a huge fan of back to television season as it was. As all the new shows are kicking off along with the NFL.
Right.
So we get to enjoy some great football on the week. And Thursday night I'll be watching the football game while doing a Twitter party. And that's why I'll be at 9 p.m. on Twitter, #FiosNY. And so we are going to be talking about back-to-school TV and the new seasons and some of the new shows. I'm sure there'll be a good bit about the night of, which is streaming on demand, HBO.
Right.
And then we'll also probably be talking about Empire a little bit, because that's been an amazing show, and that starts back up soon. And then we also have some new shows on NBC, which is the Time Travel Show. And then we have all the superhero shows starting back on the WB this fall, or CW as it was now.
Yes. But I got to tell you something, because Verizon is a proud sponsor of Late Night Parents, and the show and the podcast and everything else with it. I got to tell you, that mobile app rocks.
I don't know what I would do without the mobile app. I'm allowed to schedule my DVR. I can watch shows on the go, and so it's definitely a key to my success.
Definitely. Like I said, there's nothing more enjoyable than some of these Twitter parties where you jump on and you talk with people, and you're there for a common cause to kind of like open people's eyes to, hey, you're a cable subscriber? All right, well, I'm sorry you're a cable subscriber. There's something called Verizon Fios, hey.
You know what, but that's not just the great thing about our Twitter parties. It's not just about that. It's also about the great chance of just talking with friends and family and people that you don't know about, cool shows that you might not have heard of on TV. Find out, what's cool for kids, what's starting back up on PBS, and where you can find the new Sesame Street episodes. And even then, if you don't like any of that, there's still really cool prizes.
Yes.
And this week we're going to have some fantastic prizes, because I go to the well for my Twitter parties. So.
I know you do. I have to chime in right now, Adam, and say last month's Twitter party, which talked about working remotely and working from home and the flexibility with having Fios as your provider, second to none. And that was also the featured published post this month on Late Night Parents. But what else is going on with you and the family, back to school, and everything else is happening, Adam?
So back to school time, which is a really fun time in my house, because it's the time that the parents jump for joy and the kids cringe. But, the funny thing is we dropped my son off for the first day of third grade, and he was elated. He couldn't wait to go back and see his friends and get into the learning of what's going on this year in third grade. So we are super excited to have him in school. He goes to New York City public schools, so it's always fun to see how that is. It's also super interesting about how they do their calendar, because New York City school is actually the last school district in America to go back to school. We started the Thursday after Labor Day. Yep. And so we just started back to school, and he's off for a 3-day weekend this weekend in respects of a holiday. So he doesn't have school tomorrow. So, he's thrilled about that too.
It was so funny. I was talking, Adam, with one of my friends who lives, he lives in Atlanta, Georgia. His child started back at school the second week of August.
About a month ago, yeah.
About a month ago. And I said, oh, my goodness. I'm like, when does your son get out? And it's about a month before us.
Yep.
Right, yeah. Well, we have cousins in Arizona. They started at the very start of August.
Right. And
they also get out at the very start of May. And we don't get done until the very end of June. And so there is that. So
I know. So what is happening in the world of DataRocks.com?
All right. So what do we have going on in Data Rocks this month is we have some great fall gift guides coming up as we enter into, very quickly, the soon-to-be holiday season.
Right.
We're also going to have some phenomenal giveaways happening, because that's what we do, is do the giveaways. And I'm very excited for this stuff. So we will see what's cooking over the next couple of weeks. I know I have some really nice big giveaways. I believe I will be giving away a full-on toddler set from Delta Children in the next 2 weeks, and so that'll be over a $600 value.
Hey, Adam, I have one controversial question to ask you this week. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. The one controversial question that I will ask you, Adam, my good friend. Do you sometimes get upset when we've just hit Labor Day and everything, you're like, okay, it's beautiful weather and summer's over, and then you start seeing Halloween candy and stores being decorated for Halloween? Like, does the immediate push bother you, or are you okay with that?
I am okay with that. I think that when you have this kind of season and everything is going on, I think it's fantastic that things change, and it's good to have that change. It's good to have that calendar change. So I'm a big fan of it. I think that definitions of seasons are good. They help kids adjust and know that, hey, things are different. Back to school happens. So I'm a big fan of these little bit of holidays, these little bit of forced calendar breaks. So I don't think that's a controversial question. I'm a fan of it.
That's cool. The funny thing about it is your son and my son are buds. And the fact of the matter is, you said something that made me smile tonight, because I noticed something this past week. My son, he was happy to go back to school. And I looked at him like, who am I talking with? What's happening here? Because I would think it would be the other way around, because he just can't let go of summer. But that's not the case. And I was actually happy to see that.
I think both our kids come from that same point of enjoying education, but at the same time, they're really social kids.
Right.
So I think that's a good thing. And you can also tell a kid when they enjoy school, they enjoy learning. And so my son has been coming back. He came back from the first 2 days of school and cracked open the books and started working on his homework right away instead of putting it off and kicking it down. And so that's, it all talks about the school experience that they have. And Perfect. So that's why I think, our kids are really able to learn what they do very quickly because they're enjoying it.
That's true. And the funny thing about it, Rich is sitting across from me. He's smiling because those days are over for him.
So long ago. The only thing I have to do is last week we took my youngest back up to college. So I won't be seeing him again for about 3 months until maybe he'll come down for Thanksgiving, if he feels like it. But otherwise, yeah, those days long gone. But I do think you're right. It's when you have your kids and you get near the end of summer, even they get bored. It's their home all day. They're, playing with their siblings, or they're out hanging out with their friends in the street and riding their bikes, doing whatever they do. But, they do start to miss their friends and their social groups that they have in school. And usually they do like to get back to it. But like you said, also, it's, our kids do enjoy education. They enjoy learning, and they're in positive learning environments, which makes all the difference in the world.
Hey, one final thing I do want to mention about my son is the fact that, okay, so this is the first full week he's no longer riding the school bus with his sister. Okay? So he's growing up, and he's growing up really, really quick. So, of course, that anxiety is going to be there because, I'm telling him that, number one, you've got to make the right decisions. You've got to think about certain things that you're going to do because your sister's not there. Along with that, this is something that I've done for many, many years, like a lot of parents. What is your memory of your favorite back-to-school picture that you've taken on the first day? Adam, you go first.
So I think back-to-school photos are awesome. We've been doing it for years now. Since pre-K, we try to have Mark stand in the same spot, and like that way you do it on the first day and you do it on the last day. You can really show the progression of how much they've grown and changed in a year. And this year we actually had to choose a new spot. One, because he just outgrew the other spot. Like, he used to be on top of a bench so he could have the school sign in the background. We can't do it anymore, so now he stands on the ground, and we'll see what that looks like. But I think the other important thing is I know a lot of photos have them wear the same clothes because, fall time and springtime are very similar in weather, so you get to see them change in terms of, like, how quickly that pair of shorts look like short shorts and that giant T-shirt looks so small at the spring semester.
Yes. Rich, what are your thoughts? I mean, what are your memories? Because we're going a little ways back here.
Yeah, well, no, for me, it's the memories are the same. I mean, when you have kids, you get into the routine every year, going back to school. It's the school shopping. It's getting them ready for what what the next grade is going to bring them, and especially if they're changing schools.
Right.
So my kids, my oldest ones they're 15 months apart, so they were always one grade apart.
Gotcha.
So one of the memories of the pictures is the first year when they were both going together to the same school. It's big brother, second grade, little brother, first grade. Here they go, getting on the bus together to go to school. And, the big cheesy grins, the big smiles and all. And it was a good thing. But as far as, just the differences, and the next thing we remember the most is the inverse, when older brother then was going to the middle school. And he's going to school. He's the only one there by himself. He's got his friends, but he's there alone.
Correct.
And little brother, of course, he's in 5th grade, so he's a big man on campus, but he's at the school by himself. And, the youngest one hadn't gotten there yet.
Gotcha.
So that was an interesting time, but they handled it well. It was fun all around for everyone involved.
Perfect. Like I said, I'm vanilla, where I would always have the kids together with their uniforms on, taking the picture right outside, right on the front lawn. And you could just see the change over the years, and you're just like, oh my goodness. So it was something this year. But I said to my son last night, where were we heading? I don't know. We were in a car heading somewhere, and I said, hey, next week you got your first full week. You're good with that, right? He was like, yeah, I'm good with it. And he's going to after-school program. So, and it's something where I don't have to twist his arm. He likes it. He likes the camaraderie with the friends that he has there. So it's like a combo of swimming and the basketball and school during the day and then after school. So he's focusing on, his homework and everything else like that. And the one thing to tie everything together is his sister works at the after-school program. So we kind of had the same synergy this past summer with the camp, where he was attending camp and she was actually a junior counselor. So that's my story, and that's what I'm sticking to. Adam, best ways to get in contact with you, and this is the first time you've been on 1240 AM WGBB, but it definitely won't be the last. And Got to get you in the studio, bro.
We'll have to make that happen as things change in my life, so maybe I'll be closer to the studio sooner than later.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah, so ways you can find me is you can check me out on dadarocks.com. You can follow me on Twitter, DADAROCKS, and also on Instagram as dadarocks.
Hey, Adam, one last question. Are you on Snapchat, yes or no?
I have an account. I don't use it. I feel silly, and I play with my son in terms of doing the filters, but that's really it. It really is nothing. I'm a grown adult. I can't get a hang of it. I just don't get it.
Got you. Adam, as always, want to thank you for all that you've done for me, for Late Night Parents, for all of us, and we will be speaking with you very shortly.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
No problem.
Good to hear from you, Adam.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, and that was Adam Cohen joining us for a brief discussion on back to school. We're going to go to a quick break, and then Rich and I will be yapping it up.
If you like your radio a bit on the fantastic side, try listening to the Happy Hour Network on Blog Talk Radio. The Happy Hour Network features live shows such as Late Night Parents with Ted Hicks, Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue with Todd Vandenberg, and Lee Vowell, The Seahawks Show with Kevin Daggett, and NBA Full Court Press with Danny Thompson. You can also catch podcasts like The Fwat Show, The Earnestly Speaking Podcast, Cinema Savants, and The Tennis Scene, found at blogtalkradio.com/Happy Hour Network. The Happy Hour Network, radio worth listening to.
Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook of your choice and a free 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/Late Night Parents and choose from over 180,000 audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/Late Night Parents. That's audibletrial.com/Late Night Parents and get started today. Why Audible? Audible content includes more than 180,000 audio programs from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. That's audibletrials.com/Late Night Parents.
I am loving my Verizon FiOS. In fact, I recently joked that if we move, we have to find a place with FiOS coverage. To my surprise, our family actually agreed. Not only is FiOS the fastest internet service, it also has never been down, with the exception of when Storm Sandy hit us. And indeed, only FiOS gives you the same speed uploading, for your files, photos, etc., as it does downloading, as in HD movies. Cable cannot offer you this, only FiOS. So go ahead, make a very smart choice with Verizon FiOS.
Are you looking for some sick sports apparel? DHTK designed some of the newest and coolest brands such as Represent, Game Over, and Don't Hate the King. DHTK's vision is to integrate culture, fashion, and attitude that best represents the players and caters to us, the fans. Click on DHTK.com and subscribe to their mailing list for an automatic 10% off your order. If you are a basketball fan, follow DHTK on social media. Visit DHTK.com for more details. DHTK.com. You don't have to be a king to dress like one.
And this is Ted Hicks, Late Night Parents, exclusively on 1240 AM WGBB, the station that serves the community. I mean, I'm still trying to perfect my voice, Rich, because you got to hear it before the show starts.
And then after.
Yeah, you know, I mean, because Brian, engineer extraordinaire, always plays this audio of whomever else who's recorded that. I'm not sure who it is. I don't even think he knows who it is. Probably started before he started.
Brian's looking like, what are you talking about?
What are you guys talking about? Yeah, because this station has been around like forever and a day. You know, it's just a lot of great people before you. As we, you know, this episode, I forgot to name it at the beginning. I don't want to name it 9/11.
No.
I will name it Never Forget.
That's a good one.
We'll leave it at that. Want to talk to you about 9/11, your memory of where you were that day 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I'll real quickly give you the abridged version. I was in Tampa, Florida, working at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was right outside their data center. They're standing near their call support center. So I was down there with my wife at the time, and I had moved. I had relocated. Now, funny as it may seem, 6 days before, I happened to be in New York for Labor Day. We came here just to stop in and check in on family and everything else like that. So here it is, the morning, September 11th. I was driving in on I-4 to I-75 to I-275. It's about a 30, 40-minute drive. So I get into the support center, and I'm walking around, and we try to go to, for some reason, the internet was slow that morning. Even back then, through a LAN connection.
ISDN.
Yes, it was slow. So I'm like, well, what in the world's going on here? So we couldn't get out, outside traffic. So at that point, and I was sharing the story with my daughter this morning as we were going to church. I said to her, yeah, guess what? This is this is what was happening. I said, you don't know about this because you were in your mother's stomach at the time, So we're there. There's no access. Someone mentions that a plane hit, the World Trade Center tower. And I was like, what? They push out a TV in the support center. And then they push out a second one. Because back then, we were still on PBX phone system and everything, so it wasn't totally like VoIP or anything. And we're watching it, and I'm sitting there, and, totally filled with emotion like everyone else. And I'm trying to dial home. I'm trying to call my parents at home, and I couldn't get through.
Yep, all services were down. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and I call my wife, and I'm like, are you watching this? She was like, I can't believe what I'm watching. So at that point, I left. I left the center. I left. I jumped back in my car. I drove another 40 minutes to get home. And I said, okay, let me stop off at the store. I went to stop off at the local Walmart. What did I see on Brandon Boulevard? None other than the military in the street.
Yep.
I don't even know back then if they had AR-15s.
Yep, they did. They had it enforced.
In their hands, and I'm like, I stopped, and at the time I was driving my red Ford Explorer, and I just totally stopped. Everything came to a stop because you saw the military in the street. Rifles were out.
Yep.
Assault rifles were out. I made it into Walmart. It was really jam packed, and I said, "Well, what in the world's going on here?" And I said, okay, well, I mean, of course I knew what was going on that day, but I saw a very, very long line. And I'm like, what is this long line for? It was people buying ammo.
Yeah.
And people buying assault rifles.
Yep.
Rich.
Yep.
And I made it home, and of course, you hugged your loved ones, and eventually we were able to get in contact with our family, and, you fast forward to today, 15 years later, we are here today. What are your memories?
Well, now, of course, I was in New York at the time, and I was working on Long Island. So get up for a normal day at work, get into the office. Everything was fine when I got in the office. Then went downstairs, I think it was to get some coffee. And in between that time, I'm walking by, and everyone is sitting there staring at the TV.
Right.
Just watching what's going on. Like, and I'm in the back of the group, trying to see what's going on. And you see the smoke rising from the tower. Like, oh, man. And they say, yeah, a plane hit the tower. Now, at the time, I was doing some flight lessons. I've always had a thing for aviation, so I have a little aviation knowledge. I was already thinking planes to hit the World Trade Center accidentally, it's like throwing a piece of thread to go to go through a needle. It's almost impossible for that to happen.
Right.
But let's see where this plays out. Then of course we're all looking at it, we're watching, and then what happens? What was it? An hour later, whatever, when all the cameras are rolling, bam, the other aircraft hits. Then of course everyone's like, "Oh man, we know this is this is an attack." They're calling it an attack at this point. Try to get on the phones. Like you said, you couldn't get a phone call through anywhere. The lines were down because, of course, the antenna was on top of the World Trade Center. That antenna fed wireless for everything downtown and most of half of Manhattan. So yeah, I'm calling. I get in contact with my wife at home. She was not working in the city at the time. She was at home. Of course, she's asking me, "Do you see what's going on?" It's like, yeah, it seems like there's an attack. Then we start hearing about the other aircraft over in Pennsylvania,
right?
And you start hearing about the one that went down by the Pentagon,
right?
And they're like, this is a full scale attack on the country,
right?
My goddaughter went to school 2 blocks away from the World Trade Center, and we're trying to get in contact with her, and no one can get in contact with her.
Wow.
We get home. Where everyone finds a way to get out of the city. I get home. I was in Long Island, like I said. So I get home an hour, 45 minutes later. We're talking about ways to shut down the Manhattan offices of the company I worked for at the time, so everyone can get out cleanly. We make those arrangements. By 4 o'clock, I think it was in the afternoon, we still hadn't heard from my goddaughter. So I'm talking to her father, her mother, like, has anyone heard anything? Anyone seen anything? It was by 8 o'clock that night. She gets a phone call in. She was fortunate enough to get on a ferry out of like Bowling Green over to New Jersey. And then she got from Jersey some way, I guess there was another ferry, I forget exactly how, to get back into New York and then to make her way home to Queens. But that day, that's one of the things that anyone who was alive at the time, just like those who were alive when Kennedy was killed,
right?
Those who were about the same age, everyone remembers the Challenger disaster. They know where they were when that happened.
Yes, correct.
You know where you were when the World Trade Center happened. These life events that are indelible, stuck in your memory,
correct,
in the country's memory forever.
It's so true. And that's the attack in the 90s. That's the attack in 2001.
Yep, I remember that 90s one too.
Right. It's like this type of stuff is just burned into you.
Yep.
Burned into, your brain, your just overall emotions. It's wow.
I thought it was a shame that it took so long for them to rebuild the buildings. The politics of New York.
It's just the politics.
But it's what they built. Not that what I think matters. I like the new building.
Right.
I don't think it's ostentatious at all. It's a symbol. They had to rebuild a symbol.
Right.
It serves its purpose, I think.
What was sad was September 2015, the James Zildrogas Act, when that wasn't renewed. And there was like a small break between September and then with the politicians finally getting, their act together in November of 2015 to get the insurance and everything covered again. It's politicians will be politicians.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, I want to thank you for sharing that with me. I mean, I don't know the best way to segue. I know we have a few minutes left. We are techs by trade, and there was something that happened this week. There was a couple of things that happened. I mean,
was it related to a fruit?
Yes, it was. Apple. Oh,
iPhone 7. Dun dun dun.
I won't say anything. I will just say, Rich, what are your thoughts on the latest and greatest iteration of the iPhone?
So, I'll start at the beginning. I think we're seeing a pattern which they need to put a stop to. We haven't seen anything mind-blowingly new out of the iPhone in a couple of versions. Nothing mind-blowing.
Okay.
I mean, sure, was it when we got 6 Plus 6S, we got the touch screen, the haptic touch with the multiple force touch and all that.
Right.
That's nice. This one, well, the biggest thing is, of course, they've removed the headphone jack.
Right.
Now, there's one of the security guards at the school. Calvin. I go back and forth with him all the time about Apple. He loves Apple. And we've been having discussions about this very item.
Really?
For months. Apple did what I was saying they had to do. If they were going to force people to lose the headphone jack, they had to include an adapter to use the Lightning port with a standard jack. Even if they were going to give new iPods or earpods to support Lightning, they had to give you an adapter, because that would have just been a death knell, because everyone still has the old headphones.
Right.
Forget about what you want to say, audiophiles versus just the layman, if you will. The sound quality being different with a standard headphone jack, because you have an honest-to-goodness metal-to-metal contact, versus the Lightning, which is changing that, and it's modifying the sound even more.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a huge thing. And the other piece, of course, is the wireless earpods.
Come on.
See, here's my deal. My what I have against those. One, I think they're overpriced. It's Apple.
You think?
$159?
Come on. Stop.
I mean, granted, now you have to give Apple credit. They've designed their own wireless chip, and they're putting that in. They've put that in these earpieces. The nice little charging case that comes with it. Charge them up. You get plenty of time. I think they're giving you get 12 hours. I think. Don't quote me, but I think it was 12 hours of time on a charge. Okay, that's fine. Immediately, how many memes did you see about, all right, so what's the price going to be to buy one? Because I'm going to lose one like a minute after I get it.
Of course. Hey, I want to switch topics, switch gears, because someone just texted me, friend Sean Armour, who's located in Virginia Beach. He just texted me. He said, how about talking about the Galaxy 7?
Oh, well, fortunately, I did not buy one. I don't have a fire extinguisher to carry with me all over the place. That is a debacle and a half. I mean, can you imagine what they're going through with all... I don't even know what the number was of items purchased or sold.
Right.
But they've got to recall all of them. The government has stepped in on this now. It's an official beyond recall. Turn it off, don't use it, shut it down, bring it back.
I'm in a group chat with one of my buddies, and he has one. And we've been berating him. And I mentioned last night to him, this is an intervention. Because we were...
put it down.
Just put it down.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Leave it off. Send it back to wherever.
But here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Will they recover?
For right now, I'm going to say I don't know. I don't know.
This is big. I mean, granted, was it identified within 2 weeks of the device being released? I mean, come on, that makes you want to ask, why wasn't this called before?
Right.
How many units did this go out with this? I don't know. Is it the faulty battery itself? Is it charging mechanism? Who knows? I don't know. But how many units? Why wasn't this identified in testing? If it happened that quickly into that many pieces, what's the deal there? So that probably deserves some sort of investigation.
That's true. Hey, you didn't know the same day that Apple had their event, Dell had an event?
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Sony had an event to talk about their new PS4 Pro.
Oh, I did hear about that.
Okay.
I heard about the PS4 Pro.
But even Dell.
What is Dell releasing?
I don't know what they're... I don't know.
Slim XPS type? I like that machine. I do like that Dell. That Dell is hot.
I do own a couple of Dells. As much as I want to beat on them. I mean, because, hey, they're Dell. They've been around,
Yep.
But there's a lot going on. I do want to give a shout-out to my friends NFL, those in Laurelton, Queens. Want to give them a shout-out because I've been getting text messages back and forth from them, and we're always in group chats. So we're down to the last couple of minutes. Any thoughts on today? Anything you would like to embellish on?
Nah. Well, so we were just talking, at the end of the last segment, talking about photos and kids and pictures. This is not a plug for anything, but, I do a little photography when I can.
Okay.
and just stumbled upon a feature in an app. Everyone who likes photography has pictures of their kids. Google has a wonderful app for modifying your pictures. Again, this is not a plug for them, but it's a great tool. Their photo processing program is called Picasa, and within that application, it does some great things, like it learns to identify the people in your photos. You start to tag them, and it actually learns. It will then start suggesting names or people for images, and you can create a catalog of all your friends and family that it builds upon. And one of the features is that you can then create a slideshow of your family. You pick a family member, you click on the link for it to build a slideshow, and you can get a chronological report, a chronological slideshow of any specific person, and it just builds like snapshot on top of snapshot on top of snapshot. You tell it how many pictures. It does a really cool job, really simple. I posted it to Facebook. People, friends, and family loved it. Again, not a plug for them, but it's a great tool, great app. That's what I would mention.
Perfect. I want to thank you once again for co-hosting Late Night Parents.
I'm glad to be here. I look forward to being here again. In studio, not just on the phone.
In studio, not just on the phone. Rich, best ways to get in contact with you?
For me, it's Facebook at facebook.com/TheRealRichieV. Twitter, it's RichieV_NY. Those are the best 2 ways to get me.
Great. Once again, I want to thank everyone for listening, whether live or to the podcast. 12:40 a.m. WGBB, Late Night Parents. Thanks again, folks.
Thank you. Bye.